Closures like these tear at the fabric of responsible government.
We're looking at all of the things that we can do to stem the flow of this information.
This was the biggest leak in the history of this particular planet.
Hi Alex, welcome to Film Club. I'm Luke and this is Fergus.
I'm Fergus. Hi.
Hi Luke. Hi Fergus.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you guys.
Excellent. First of all, I'd like to ask, what motivated you to make a film about WikiLeaks?
I was actually presented with the opportunity by a Hollywood producer named Mark Schmugger, but it was a story I was following, so I was very interested in it and I leapt at the opportunity.
Were you more interested in the person, Julian Assange, or was it WikiLeaks that really caught your attention?
I was interested in both.
Okay.
I mean, it seemed to me a great David and Goliath story, and this platform of an anonymous internet leaking platform and a kind of a way of publishing all over the internet seemed tremendously interesting also.
Yeah.
So my name is Julian Assange. I'm the editor of WikiLeaks. We help you get the truth out. If you get this material, give it to us, no questions asked, and you'll help change history.
Can you explain where you begin to make a film like this, and once you've decided on the subject, where do you start first?
You start researching everything you can get your hands on, and then you start also trying to figure out who you can talk to. Okay. And so you start talking. There was a movie a long time ago, a David Mamet film, I think, where he says, he's the man who knows the man who knows the man. Well, that's who you start talking to first, the man who knows the man who knows the man.
Yeah, can you talk us through the editing process and like how long it takes?
The editing process takes a tremendous amount of time. I think the editing on this took over a year. And partially because you don't stop filming. It's like you think, oh, you do the filming and then you do the editing. Well, you do most of the filming and then you do the editing, but then very often you have an opportunity to shoot something else and you shoot that and you've got to incorporate it. And then sometimes the story changes. This story was unbelievable. It kept changing. So we kept having to adjust.
Was making this film similar or different to the other kind of documentaries that you've made?
It was similar, but it was extraordinarily complicated and it presented huge issues. Like,
is that just because of the subject matter?
Partially because of the subject matter and partially because of the main characters at the center of the film. Right. One character, Bradley Manning, we couldn't get at all, even to think about interviewing, because we first knew about him after he'd been arrested.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you come across any challenges while making the film at all?
Huge challenges. Obviously, we couldn't get at Bradley Manning. Yeah. Julian Assange was resistant and ultimately refused to be interviewed, even though I met with him a lot.
He was this kid who had reached out in confidence and said, hey, I'm leaking secrets.
The consequences of the release of these documents are potentially severe and dangerous.
Like you said, this film is about source protection and reusing sensitive information responsibly. Do you think documentary filmmakers like yourself shared the same responsibility with their stories and the subjects?
I do. I think documentary filmmakers owe a tremendous sense of obligation to their subjects in terms of treating them properly. That having been said, I think the ultimate responsibility that filmmakers owe is to the audience. Because very often you have different kinds of reactions to subjects that you interview or sometimes don't interview. And you have to check those reactions because at the end of the day, you're responsible for presenting a truth.
Back in 2007, you won an Oscar for Taxi to the Dark Side. How does it feel to have such a prestigious award?
Well, it was great. Yeah. But luckily for me, I had an experience a couple years before with Enron, the smartest guys in the room, and I was nominated. And it gave me a sense of not to feel too high and mighty. When I walked down the red carpet for Enron, I remember a photographer beckoning me over, and I thought, here it is, my moment. They were all waiting to photograph me. And I walked over, and the photographer said, will you please get out of the way? Jennifer Aniston is coming. So I had a pretty good sense about where I stood on the totem pole.
Everyone has secrets. If they are broadly known, you cannot accomplish your work.
I'm not going to talk about that.
But it does affect WikiLeaks.
Let me be very candid. Nation-states need to be secret in order to be successful. We steal secrets.
It's not about WikiLeaks, it's about transparency. Who gets to control information?
Do you draw from different documentaries when you're setting out to create a new one at all?
I do. You know, I watch a lot of documentaries, and they're always huge learning experiences. And I think we're living in an era, the last 10 or 15 years, of a tremendous golden age, really, of documentaries. Because not only are they're movies in the best sense of the word, in the sense that they immerse you in a subject, but they do so with a sense of mystery and ambiguity and drama.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. So yeah, I rely on watching others, and also you get a sense of the author now in a documentary. You know, in the old days it was always said, never show anything of yourself, present things in a kind of distant manner. I think every documentarian now has a sense of authorship that you feel in the way these films are put together, and I get that a lot from seeing other fantastic films. And if you like, I mean, I can name a few.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, I just, you know, there's so many, but just off the top of my head, just this year, for example, Stories We Tell, the new Sarah Polley film, fantastic film.
Cool.
The Gatekeepers, which was a wonderful film. Waltz with Bashir, I loved. Man on Wire, going back in history, The Sorrow and the Pity by Marcel Ophuls, or Give Me Shelter by the Maysles Brothers, and Night and Fog by Alan Renee. You know, there's so many great documentaries. It's just, you know, you get inspired and you make better films by watching more movies.
Did you kind of feel like you're always learning from watching these other filmmakers still? You think,
no doubt. You're always learning. The minute you stop learning, you're done.
Okay, that's fantastic. Alex, thank you very much for meeting with us.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.